एक बार करो ना।
এবার করুণা করো বৈষ্ণব গোসাই। এবার করুণা করো বৈষ্ণব Acharya in our line, and these bhajas were very favorites of Srila Prabhupada. And he says, "E Bala Karuna Koro Vaishnava Gosai." Actual word is Goswami, but this is a Bengali nickname. Out of affection we say Gosai. E Bala Karuna. Karuna means compassion. So this time, Karuna Koro, just be compassionate upon me. Patita Pavana Toma Bina Kehodana. Patit means ourselves. Patit means patit, fallen. And Pavana means to purify. It's like you, there's no one who can purify the fallen souls. And he gives a nice example. He says, Gangara Parasha Vede Paschate Pavan. Parasha, this is very old Bengali. Actual word is Sparsha. And we heard this word Sparsha in Bhagavad Gita, right? What verse? Sparsha. Means to touch, to contact. So touching Ganga, this is a very poetic way of saying taking bath in Ganga. Gangara Parasha Vede Paschate Pavan. After some time, one becomes purified. After some time, just like now we had Kumbh Mela, Mahakumbh Mela in Prayag. The people come and do Kalpavas. For 1 month, they take bath in the cold waters of the Jamuna and Ganga in this cold month of Magh in January, December. So after some time. But Darshani Pavitra Koro E Kumaragun. But just by seeing a Vaishnava one becomes purified. Darshan, just by seeing a Vaishnava one becomes purified. This is in accordance with the verse in first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. That the Vaishnava is purified immediately, whereas the Ganga takes some time. One time at Kumbh Mela, one sadhu, he said to me, "Why are we giving more importance to Ganga than to the Vaishnava than Ganga?" So I knew he had a special answer. So he said, Ganga one time touched the foot of the toe of the Lord. Remember, Lord Bhamandev expanded himself to his toe, broke the covering of the universe, and Ganga water passed out and touched his toe and flowed away. One time touched the Lord's toe and went away. But the Vaishnava, he's always touching the feet of the Lord and always running toward the Lord. So we give more importance to him than to Ganga. So after getting mercy of Lord Chaitanya, then we want to get mercy of Lord Chaitanya. So we have a beautiful song. It's not so common. It's also by Narottam Das Thakur. You can look up on your device. Gauranga Karuna Koro. You want to give me a tune a little bit lower? Too high to this. Gauranga Karuna Koro Deena Bande Trinadori Gora Dagi He Domara Kripa Kori Esho Amar Hridoya Mandire Bhuvani. O Gauranga, please be merciful on the fallen souls. Dina Hina means fallen. Mosamo Patita Nahi Tribhuvani. In all the three worlds, you won't find anyone more fallen than me. This is the attitude one must take if he wants to get the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because mercy is like water. Water always flows down. So if you think I'm a big devotee, then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy will go to somewhere else. But most of all, but you'll not find anyone more fallen than me. Then ASAP, I have priority basis. You have to save me. So this is the attitude. And he has a very interesting line here. He challenges the Lord. Yadi doya na koribe, if you don't become merciful to me, patita deki, seeing that I'm fallen, and you're not merciful to me, then patita pavana nama kisera lagya. Then why do you have this name patita pavana? I'm fallen and you're not giving mercy to me, then why do you have this name patita pavana? He's challenging the Lord. It's a very interesting song. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki. So we'll do one more little bhajan to take us to Braj. You can look up.
You want to do that one? I don't know this time.
That's too long because we're running out of time. You can look up Braja Jana Mana. Probably spelled with a V as in victory. But it's Braja Jana Mana Sukakari. Beautiful Braj bhajan. So should we get mercy of the Vaishnava and mercy of Gauranga Mahaprabhu? Then we can go to Braj. Sri Radhe Brajajana Manasukakari Radhe Shama 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 Sri Radhe Brajajana Manasukakari Radhe Shama Shama Makala Krita Kundala Kali Vaidungi Mara Makala Krita Kundala Kali Vaidungi Mara Charanandu Pura Rasara Radhe Shama 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 Residents of Braj. And Sukakari means who delights. Brajajana Man means the heart. And who delights the hearts of all of the Brajvasis? Radhe Shyam, Shyama Shyam. Hare Krishna. Should we start with introduction?
Yeah, we'll do it.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to our Sunday program, our Bhagavat Sravana program. We're so honored to have you here and to see our temple decorated so beautifully and filled with so many wonderful devotees. Is this anybody's first time at Bhakti Center or at this program? Okay, wonderful. So we've got a bunch of veterans here today. But just in case, I'll share a little bit about what our program will look like today. So we just had some wonderful kirtan and bhajan. Thank you so much for leading us, Prabhu. And then we'll have a lovely class given by His Grace Deena Bandhu Prabhu. Then we will have some more kirtan, we'll have some arti for our lordships, and then we will have prasadam in the back. And of course, as you all know, this is just the start of a very exciting festival day to come for Panihati here at Bhakti Center, and we'll talk a little bit more about that schedule later. But for now, I'm very honored to introduce His Grace Deena Bandhu Prabhu. Thank you so much for joining us. He was born in Los Angeles, and he joined the Krishna Consciousness movement in 1969 in Boulder, Colorado. And he was initiated by Srila Prabhupada in 1970. He helped establish temples in Dallas and Portland, and later preached in Colombia, sharing Krishna consciousness in Spanish. Since moving to Vrindavan in 1984, he's been deeply involved in restoring many holy sites, most notably the Vrindakun Temple, which he has lovingly maintained for over 30 years. And he's also helped restore the Samadhi of Srila Sanatana Goswami. And he's been a very strong advocate for reviving the Yamuna River. So please join me in giving 3 big hard bowls for our guest speaker today. Haribo! 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 Jai! Claps.
Hare Krishna. So like I said, it's a very great honor for me to be here at the lotus feet of Gaurachandra, Srimad Gaurachandra, and Sri Sri Radha Murlidhar, and be at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada, and be here in front of all of the wonderful devotees of New York Yatra. It's a very great honor and pleasure for me. And seeing this beautiful deity of Srimad Mahaprabhu reminds me of a special verse that, as I translated a very beautiful book by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur called Madhurya Kadambini, which is available on Amazon. We don't have any printed copies, and we're planning. So Madhurya Kadambini describes everything from bhakti all the way up to, from Astrada all the way up to prema, and answers all the questions you could ever imagine to ask. Everything is answered there. And then he gives us a little peek of what's in store for us if we follow carefully the process. Very wonderful book. But the Mangala Charan is very charming about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ridva Prena Vabhakti Shashavitaye Sanjeevani Swagama Rambe Kamata Partadaha Damani Pispapa Golasani Durane Manashaki No Pisarasi Bhavaya Bhuya Prabhu Sri Chaitanya Nirankusha Mahamadurya Kadambani. So Madhurya means sweetness, and Kadambani means rows and rows of clouds, rows and rows of clouds of sweetness. Madhurya Kadambani. So these clouds are raining down special nectar. Ridva Prema Bhakti Shashavite. In our hearts, there's little seeds of bhakti have been planted by the spiritual master. And this beautiful Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is watering those little seeds. Ridva Prema Bhakti Shashavite. Nava Bhakti, just fresh. Ridva Prema Bhakti Shashavite. Sanjeevani Swagama. It's just like after the summer, it's very dry. Everything becomes dried up. But Sanjeevani, now new life is being poured into the living entities after the summer season. Sanjeevani Swagama. Brahme Takamata Partadahatavani. We're burning in this this fire of lust is burning our hearts. So this rush of rain is putting out that fire. This whole universe, by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is becoming joyful. Because there's another song where Prabhupada used to sing. What is that? Kevalananda Kanda. Krishna himself, he described, you have to become a scholar and study Bhagavad Gita. But this process of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Kevalananda Kanda, is only blissful. Just chanting very loudly and very enthusiastically, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the whole universe is becoming joyful by this wonderful process of chanting the holy name. Durami, Dur means very far away. Just like there's one forest of Raj, it's so far away, it's in South Africa. It's called Durban. That's the faraway forest, the Durban, that's the faraway forest. Actually, there's a couple more forests so far away, they're lost in Australia. There's Melbourne and Brisbane. So Durame Marashaki Nopa Sarasi Bhavaya Sri Chaitanya Nirankusha Mahamadurikaramani. That I'm just a dried up stick in the distance, very far away from Mahaprabhu's mercy. But even in the rainy season, before the rain comes, because we're all dying, the weather is up to 45, sometimes 50. That's translates to, because I'm a centigrade while Fahrenheit must be 104 to 120. We're burning in that fire somehow or other. At Durham, even all of a sudden, the eastern horizon, you see these big rows of clouds, which you could say. And this cool breeze begins to blow. So even before the rain comes, we're cooled off by this cool breeze is coming. It tells you now the rain is coming. Durame Marashaki Ropisarji. Sri Chaitanya Nirankusha. And this mercy of Lord Chaitanya is Nirankush. It's like if you seen in India where they're controlling elephants, they have an ankush, a little thing like this that hooks onto the ear and they can control it. So someone who's uncontrolled, he's Nirankush. So this mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Nirankush. There's no control, it just goes anywhere and everywhere. Whether you're qualified, unqualified, whether you have proper qualities or no qualities, doesn't matter. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy is flowing for everybody. Madhurya Kadambini, this cloud bank of mercy. This is, so this beautiful Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was reminding me of this verse. Om Agyan Timirandasya Gananjana Chalakaya Chaturundam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Visam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Sayam Bhagadamayam Tadaki Swadalandikam Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaurabhaktavrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Panchakalpatrubhyascha, Kripasindhuvevascha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. So I saw today on the Vaishnava calendar, today is Chiradahi Utsav. This is a very special pastime described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. That there was one great devotee named Raghunath Das Goswami. And Raghunath, he was born in a very, very wealthy family. But somehow he came in contact with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and he became, with the movement of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he became completely detached from family life. He just kept wanting to run away and join. His father would always drag him back. And finally, the message came that don't be a madman, just pretend like you're attached, but within your heart you remain unattached. So he began to act just like a, Prabhupada said, pound, silly, and pence. But within his heart he was completely renounced from all these things. But he was always trying to run away to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's. He was in Puri. So, at one point, his uncles, he had two uncles, they were collecting taxes for the Muslim king. And they were taking their percentage. And they managed by some tricks to, there was one Muslim Chaudhry who had that post before, and they managed to slip him out of the post, and they took over the post, and they were making good money. They got a percentage. But they were actually collecting more than they admitted to the Muslim king, so they were making some extra profit. So that Chaudhry, he became their enemy because he got kicked out of his post. So he reported to the king that this is actually going on. So the king sent his men to arrest Hiranya and Govardhana. Yeah, that was their names. But they managed to get news that he was coming. So they ran away, so they arrested Raghunath Das instead. And that jailer, he wanted to, that Chaudhry, he would come there and he would threaten them. He'd come in the jail and threaten them, threaten Raghunath, and he would threaten that he was going to beat him. But seeing the sweet face of Raghunath, he just couldn't beat him, but he would chastise him verbally. So Raghunath Das, he was thinking how what to do. So finally he told that Chaudhry, he said, look, your grandfather and my grandfather were just like brothers. And brothers sometimes fight and sometimes they make up. So that makes me your nephew. So I'm your dependent. And you were a great saintly person. He's a jailer. But Prabhupada says sometimes sadhus, they have to, what do you call it? Sweet talk, yeah, all right. Sweet talk too. What does he know about being a great saintly person? Or you know the Quran very well. So you should, this way they have to placate the enemy sometimes like this. So that Muslim Chaudhry, he began to cry. So anyway, anyhow, he managed to get Raghunath out of the jail, and he said, look, your father's making, 300,000 rupees extra. And since we're brothers, we're related, you should give some portion to me. So then Raghunath, he went to his uncles, he explained the situation, somehow they placated him. And Raghunath Das was freed from the jail. So, but still every time he would want to run away. Again, he started pining to go join Lord Chaitanya. So his mother told her husband that, look, this guy's always trying to run away. You should tie him up with ropes. And her husband said, look, this guy has opulence greater than the king, because he was making profit of 3 lakhs in those days. We can't imagine what it is in today's rate. That's millions and billions of rupees. But anyway, in those days, So he says he has opulence greater than the king of heaven, Indra. He has a wife more beautiful than Apsara. These things can't tie him up. What will be the use of my rope? So finally one day, he heard that Lord Nityananda had come to a place called Panihati. Just not far from Calcutta, there's a very beautiful place called Panihati. And I've been there. I've been to that place where that tree is still standing. It's Lord Nityananda sat underneath the tree there. And we have a very beautiful temple nearby. Wonderful temple there. We went there a couple of years ago. So he heard that Nityananda was there in Panihati. So somehow he got permission to go to Panihati. And from a distance, he paid his obeisance to Lord Nityananda. And somebody told Lord Nityananda, there's Raghunath in the distance paying obeisances. And Lord Nityananda said, oh, you're a thief. Why are you staying so far away? And he had them drag Das there. And he placed his lotus feet on his head. He said, you're like a thief, staying far away. So I'm going to punish you. So many people are here, you have to make a big festival for all of them. You feed them a chira dahi. Chira is, it's called flat rice. You probably never, some of you probably never seen, but it's flat, somehow they flatten out the rice. I guess they make it wet and flatten it. It's called, sometimes called chipped rice. So Raghunath, he was extremely wealthy, so he bought all the chira and dahi and milk and sweets and so many things. And they began distributing, they were soaking some of the flat rice and milk in hot milk, some of it they were soaking in dahi yogurt, and he was passing out 2 cups to everyone. Many, many people heard that this festival is going on, so many other people came. And Lord Nityananda, he was sitting on a platform under that tree. You can go there, that tree is still there, and the platform is still there. And many of his associates were sitting on that platform, and many respectable persons also sitting on that. Some were sitting just below that. Some, there was no room, so they were sitting on the bank of the Ganga. And everyone was hearing that this festival is going on. So Raghunath, so many, many merchants from other villages came, and Raghunath bought all of their stock, and it began soaking, some chira in hot milk and some of it in dahi, and giving to everyone. And people, they ran out of space, so people were just sitting in the water of the Ganga with their chira dahi. And more merchants came, and Raghunath bought all their wares and then fed them the same thing back. In this way, Lord Nityananda, by his meditation, he called Chaitanya Mahaprabhu there from Puri. And those who were very fortunate, nobody could understand, but those who were very fortunate, they could see that Lord Chaitanya was there with Lord Nityananda. And they began to walk, and Lord Nityananda, he's always a funny fellow. So he would take some chira dahi from somebody's plate and push it into Mahaprabhu's mouth. And then Mahaprabhu would take some from somebody's plate, and they were walking around. But only those who were very fortunate could see what was going on. Nobody else understood what was going on. So in this way, this Chira Dahi Utsav, then finally Raghava Pandit appeared. And he saw a big festival is going on, but he had invited Nityananda to his house for prasad. He said, prasad is waiting in the house, getting cold. But I see you're having a big festival here. He says, well, I'm a cowherd boy, and I like to eat on the bank of the sandy bank of the river with my cowherd friends. So they made an arrangement that later he would go to Raghava Pandit's house and take prasad. And Mahaprabhu and Nityananda called Raghunath Das Goswami there and placed Lord Chaitanya's feet on his head. So then he told him that now you go home very soon. All the obstacles, now that you've done this, you've taken your punishment, now all the obstacles to your joining Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will somehow be alleviated. You go home and don't worry about it. Don't worry about a thing. So this is this day that they perform this Chiradahi Utsav. And in the old days, the ISKCON used to head it up, but it's become completely out of hand. Now the government has taken it over. But in our ashram there, we have a beautiful temple there. They feed hundreds and thousands of people. They could bring truckloads of chira dahi, chira, and so many huge containers of yogurt and milk, and they have a big festival there. So then, Raghunath Das Goswami, he returned home, but now he didn't even sleep in the house. He would sleep, there was a temple of Ma Durga, because in Bengal everybody likes to worship Durga too much, so there was a temple of Ma Durga, so he used to sleep on the platform in front of her temple. We call it Durga Mandap. And he became very attached from the affairs of the house. And Raghunath Das' father became very worried. So he had guards to stay there and watch, that don't let this fellow run away. So one night, I guess one morning actually, very early in the morning, his spiritual master, Yadunandanacharya, came. And Yadunandanacharya went to Raghunath and said, my pujari has run away and he's not coming to perform his service, and it's a big trouble for me. Somehow you go there and convince him to do his service. So this is not just an ISKCON problem that pujaris run away. Or sometimes the cook runs away. It's a universal problem. So they began walking, and at this time, because it was very, very early in the morning, like 3 o'clock in the morning, so all the guards were in their constitutional position. It means they were sound asleep. Plus he was with his guru, Nandanacharya, so nobody felt any fear. So they walked toward Yadunandanacharya's house. Halfway there, Raghunath told Yadunandan, he said, look, you go home, I will go to the pujari's house and I will convince him to come. You don't worry about a thing. I will go there right now. So Yadunanacharya went home and Raghunath ran into the woods. And he knew that everyone would look for him on the main path. And first of all, Shivananda Sain, it was the same time Shivananda Sain was starting for Puri with all the Bengali devotees. And he said that will be the first place that my father would look. So he avoided them and went by all the back routes. And he ran away into the forest. And then suddenly, when everyone woke up in Raghunath's house, they found that he was gone, and everyone, the father and mother were crying and crying. And they said, immediately, he got 10 men, he sent them to Shivananda Sain with a letter that please return my son. So these things have been going on since the beginning of Krishna. As soon as some young boy joins the ashram, then the mother and father come, and the mother, why you can do your Krishna consciousness at home, why do you have to join the ashram? So this is not a new thing, it's been going for 500 years. Please send my son home. So they caught up with Sivananda Sain, and he read the letter. He said, we haven't seen Raghunath at all. So they sent the guards on different paths and trying to find Raghunath, but Raghunath, he was only intent on reaching Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he just didn't care about, even he was starving, he didn't care. Sometimes he got something to eat, sometimes. He was for 12 days running through the jungles. In only 3 days he managed to get something to eat. But he just ran through the jungles to join Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And finally he reached Puri, and from a distance he paid his obeisances, and those who were sitting with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they said, oh, again, they said, there's Raghunath in the distance. And they had his men bring Raghunath there close. And he said, why are you staying so far away? And he fell at Mahaprabhu's feet, but Mahaprabhu picked him up and embraced him. And everybody was amazed. The mercy, who is this person? He got such mercy from Mahaprabhu. Then he told his assistant, or then he told Swarup Damodar actually, that I'm giving this fellow under your protection. And he hasn't eaten anything for many days. He underwent many troubles. You tell him to go take bath in the sea, and then you feed him as much as he desires. So every day Raghunath would come and Swarup Damodar would feed him very nicely. This went on for some time. Then Raghunath Das said, this is not proper renounced life to go and sit and enjoy a big feast every day. So then he started going in the evening to the Singadwara gate. There's 4 gates to Jagannath Puri temple, and one is Singadwara. Singa means lion gate. And the pujaris, when they're leaving, their custom, since time immemorial, their custom was any sadhu who's begging at the gate, they give him some Mahaprasad from Lord Jagannath. So then Mahaprabhu noticed that Raghunath's not coming for a feast every day. He said, no, now he's standing at the lion gate, begging from the pujaris in the night. And Mahaprabhu was very pleased, yes. For an ounce person to simply live at the expense of someone else is not good. He has done right. Then, one day, so Mahaprabhu, he would always notice Raghunath at this lion's gate in the evening. Then he didn't see him, and he asked for Damodar, where's Raghunath? He said Raghunath had decided like he's like a prostitute. This person gave something yesterday, maybe this person will give, now he just goes to the place where they distribute, when everything's left over, whatever's left over they distribute free to the beggars. Mahaprabhu said, oh, very nice. So then Mahaprabhu would look for him at the free distribution stands. But he didn't see him after some time. And he asked for Damodar. He said that he was thinking, this is also not good. He's just going, whatever's left over from the free distribution, they give it to the cows. Whatever the cows don't eat, he takes that, he goes to the sea, he washes it in the ocean and scrapes off the bad part, and with that little kernel that's in, he's eating that. And Mahaprabhu said, what? He's having a big feast and he didn't invite me? Immediately Mahaprabhu ran to the place. And Raghunath tried to stop him from eating. He said, no, you're having a feast and you didn't invite me. Then he just immediately took two morsels of food from Raghunath's plate and said, such nice prasadam you're having, you didn't call me. So in this way he got by getting the mercy of Lord Nityananda, he got the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. So this is our process. We first want to get the mercy of Lord Nityananda, then we can get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Just like in the beginning, we started with the bhajan for the Vaishnava, so we want to get first the mercy of the Vaishnava, then we want to get the mercy of Lord Nityananda, then we want to get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Just like, as Prabhuji said, I joined the movement in Boulder, Colorado. And at that time, the devotees had arrived there to start a temple. So they were staying with some hippies in a real log cabin, just outside of Boulder, about 15 miles outside of Boulder. There was a real log cabin. And some hippies, they invited them to come and stay until they could find a place. But this was September. September means school starts. It came in the newspaper that there was 700 students from University of Colorado at Boulder that were looking for off-campus housing. The devotees, this is 1969, the devotees were in competition with 700 students in 1969. Nobody knew what a Hare Krishna was, and they looked weird. Shaved heads and robes. And they were in competition, so it was becoming very difficult. They went to every real estate agent, they answered every ad in the newspaper, they just weren't finding a place. Meanwhile, I joined and I was staying there, and these hippies were getting upset because they had big Jagannath like this, and a big Baladev like this, and a little tiny Subhadra like this. I never understood why. Because those deities had come from Santa Fe, but somehow Santa Fe temple didn't make it, so they brought them there to Boulder. And they set them up in the living room. So that was the living room. So the boys who were living there, they couldn't talk in the living room anymore, so they're stuck in their rooms, in their bedrooms, you know. And although they appreciated the devotees were cooking and they liked the prasad like anything, they were getting uptight that they're stuck in their bedrooms. They can't speak. They can't lie down or do whatever they want in the main room, the living room, because the deities are there. And one day, Country Joe and the Fish came to University of Colorado, and so they all went to the concert. And they took certain substances that were very, in the 60s and 70s, were very popular. And they all went to that thing. And we also went there. And somehow or other, they didn't have a bandanga. They had a Congo drum with a tambourine, you know, that part of the tambourine stapled around one end of the Congo. And we were doing kirtan there. And and distributing back to Godheads and collecting donations. So somehow or other, I went out collecting, and somehow it was very blissful. I was, you know, I took a tambourine and went, you know, through the crowd chanting, and people were giving me donations, and people were giving me, somebody gave me tickets to the concert. And I remember Bhavananda said that you just do whatever you're doing and chant Hare Krishna. So I thought, oh, I'll go to the concert and chant Hare Krishna. And then the other side of my mind said, that's Maya. So instead I sold the ticket and gave the money to Bhavananda, whatever I was collecting, and I felt so blissful. And then at some point somebody came up and he offered me this little piece of paper with a little pink dot on the... And I said, wow. And Bhavananda came and said, this is Maya. So I got saved from that. So anyway, after the concert, they all came back tripping, and they, you know, things getting really intense. And they saw this is their cabin, they're paying the rent. Hare Krishnas have taken over the whole place. It became very, very uncomfortable to be there. And every day we drive in to Boulder. So, and we chant in front of the campus, and then they would go out looking for and all the real estate agents and all the real estate ads, and I would go on the campus, and I had my Back to Godheads, and I would distribute Back to God. I found a place, there was a bridge over a little pond with little, you know, lilies in it. This looked like a, you know, spiritual place. So I was a troll. Nobody got across the bridge until they brought it back to Godhead. And somebody came by and said, I heard there's a place on Concord Street. So I went back and I told the devotees, somebody told me there's a place on Concord Street. I said, where's Concord Street? I don't know. Everybody looked at me, spaced out hippie, no hope. And what's the address? I don't know, didn't ask. Spaced out hippie, useless. So then the second time somebody told me there's a place on Congress Street, I went back, second time, you know, there's a place on Congress Street. The devotees, immediately said, so where's Congress Street? Didn't ask. Huh? What's the address? I don't know. Spaced out hippie, hopeless case. So one day this football jock came along, and they never take magazines, you know, but somehow he listened to me, and I had a whole Sankirtan rap, and the end was, we're looking for a place to start a temple, and we'll have Sunday feasts and everything. If you know of any place. He said, I heard there's a place on Congress Street. And I said, all right, I'm not going to have the devotees looking at me at the corner of their eyes again. I said, where's Congress Street? I don't know, you can ask at a gas station. So why didn't I think of that? Because in the old days, gas stations were all mom and pop things. If you go to the gas station, you can find out who the best plumber was, who's the best electrician, who's the best painter, you know, where's the best place to buy produce, you know. They were all mom and pop operations. So why didn't you want to know? You just went to the gas station. Nowadays, you know, there's just some kid behind bulletproof glass, and you probably ask him a question, and he'll freak out. And anyway, he's from India. He doesn't know the town at all. So anyway, they had exhausted every ad, every real estate agent. They hadn't found anything, so now they had to listen to me. Hmm? He said, oh, then the second question, what's the address? So I asked the guy, what's the address? He said, I don't know, but it's for rent. There must be a sign out front. Why didn't I think of that? So I came back and I said, this is the third time. Very auspicious. I learned right on, there's only about 3 or 4 adjectives that we use in Krishna consciousness. Auspicious, blissful, like that. So I said, very auspicious, third time somebody told me, Concord Street. He said, what's the address? I said, where is it? He said, didn't know, but he said, we could ask at a gas station. What's the address? He didn't know, but he said, if it's for rent, there must be a sign up front. So we went to the gas station, and the guy told us, well, Congress Street's a funny street. It doesn't cross Broadway, because everything crosses Broadway. You have to go up to Sunset Street, you go down 3 blocks, then you go over 1 block, and then for 4 blocks there's a little street called Concord Street. So we went there, and we drove up and down. We found Concord Street, we drove up and down. We didn't see any for rent signs, but we saw a house that was empty. So there was some lady pushing her stroller down the street, so we asked her about the house, and she said, well, the landlord lives on the corner, you can ask him if he's renting it. So, because I had hair all over the place, so they left me in the truck. And Bhavananda, he had yogi pants on, and very, he was a fashion designer before he was a devotee, among other things, filmmaker, fashion designer, interior decorator. So he had this special shirt, turtleneck shirt with the zipper on the side, not on the front, it was on the side. This was from France, and nobody in America had one. So he had on his shirt and his yogi pants, and Palika was in a sari, and they left me in the car because they didn't want anybody to see me. And they went to talk to the owner. So I was outside, so I was praying that, oh, Krishna, you have to get us this place. We've tried so hard. It's getting so terrible, that place. They're going to kill us if we stay there any longer. And then I realized, they said, you can't go to Krishna directly. You got to go through Radharani. So I was praying to Radharani, oh, Radharani, please get us this place. Tell Krishna to get us this place. And then I remember they said, you can't go to Radharani directly. You have to go to Lord Chaitanya. So I was praying, oh, Lord Chaitanya. And then he said, then I remember, oh, Lord Nityananda. So then I was praying to Lord Nityananda. He said, you can't go to him directly, you got to go to Prabhupada. So I was praying to Prabhupada, And then I heard about there's some guy named Nard Muni, and I was praying to him, and I heard some guys named Jai Vijay. So I was praying to them. And Bhavananda came out, and he was all-arounder. He was a plumber, painter, electrician, everything, and carpenter. And he worked for a company doing restorations. And he decided he's going to retire, divide that house into 4 apartments like everybody else in Boulder, and rent it out to the students. But since he was a Muda, they put a bigger carrot on the end of the stick. They offered him a raise. If he continued working, then he had no time to divide that house into 4 apartments. So just that night when Bhavananda walked in, and Bhavananda Plika walked in, he decided he was just going to rent the whole house. And they walked in and he rented them the house. And that was their first temple, 523 Concord Street. So, because Lord Chaitanya is very confidential, so when he got the mercy of Lord Nityananda, then he was able to get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. So that's the Chiradai Utsav today. So now we'll go to Braj, because we promised that we were going to take you to Braj. So, this is an interesting story. How many people have been to Kusum Sarovar? And how many people have seen on the side of Kusum Sarovar there's a little temple of Uddhav? Okay. So, and Uddhav's sitting there reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Not from an iPad, from a leaf pad. So what happened, according to Skanda Puran, because in Bhagavatam it says that when Arjuna tried to bring all the queens from Dwarka, they were kidnapped by some dacoits. But in Skanda Puran it says that Maharaj Parikshit went there and brought all the queens back from Dwarka after Krishna disappeared, and he brought them to Mathura. And in Mathura one day they went to the Jamuna to take bath. And they saw the Jamuna was flowing very happily. And they said, Are, you're also the Patrani of Lord. You're also the wife of Lord. Because you remember Krishna married Kalindi, no? How are you so happy? And she said, I have benediction from Srimati Radharani that I never feel separation from the Lord. You're also not separated from the Lord, but you haven't realized it. But if you go, she says very clearly, Govardhanam Kusumbanam, you go to the Govardhan, you go to the Kusum forest, and there, Uddhav, he lives in two forms. One form we know went to the visible form we know went to Badrinath. In invisible form, he lives as grass and creepers all around Kusum Sarovar. He said, you do Nam Sankirtan, Uddhav will appear, and Uddhav will be able to solve your problem, that you will never feel separation. You're actually not separated, but you haven't realized it. But Uddhav will make you understand. So then they took Bhadranav, Krishna's great-grandson, and Parikshit, and all the queens, and a whole bunch of people from Mathura. They all went there with like mridangas and dolaks and so many different instruments. They did this ecstatic Nam Sankirtan. They were all dancing and chanting like madmen. And suddenly Uddhav appeared. And when Uddhav saw Parikshit, he immediately embraced him. He said, you're so fortunate. Even in the womb you got darshan of the Lord. You're such a fortunate devotee of the Lord. So when he understood what was happening, he said, so I'm going to recite Srimad Bhagavatam to all these people, and they will get the mercy of the Lord. But now Krishna has left the planet, Kali has entered. So I have some service for you. He said, yes, what is that? He said, you go fight with Kali. Because he will destroy any good thing that's going on, he will try to disturb. So you go fight with Kali. Meanwhile, I will speak Srimad Bhagavatam to these queens, and they will all be liberated from this world. And he said, well, whatever you say, I'll do, but what about me? How will I get liberation? He said, don't worry about a thing. This Srimad Bhagavatam is so important, and so powerful, that what I'm going to do for these queens and everyone here in 30 days, the great sage Sukadeva Goswami will do for you in 7 days. And because of that recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam, the people of Bharat, they're more interested in Karma Kand and so many other things. They will understand the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. Then he goes on for verse after verse. We went back and got the Skanda Puran, and verse after verse glorifying the so-and-so chanted, heard Srimad Bhagavatam, and this would happen, and so. And then he says, because of this recitation for you by Sukadeva Goswami, all the people of Bharat will understand the value of Srimad Bhagavatam. And then it will go all over the world. So this is a prediction in Skanda Puran, that because we know it was our dear Srila Prabhupada who took this conversation of Sukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj and spread Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world. So this is a very interesting thing that we found out there at this place. So Uddhav Maharaj, he spoke on Srimad Bhagavatam for 30 days. At the end of 30 days, all the residents, all the queens and all the residents of Mathura come there, and Bhadranav and Parikshit Maharaj, they were no longer seen in this world. They all understood their original identity, and they all went back to home, back to Godhead, and were never seen in this world again. So this was a very interesting thing in predicting that Prabhupada was going to take Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world. And most amazing thing we saw in Europe, because there was one young devotee, he was from Saudi Arabia, and his name was Abdullah. And he was shaved up, and he was distributing sets of Srimad Bhagavatam to the people. Very enthusiastic. Every day they would give the score. Abdullah distributed so many Srimad Bhagavatam. This was totally amazing. Oh, in Soho Street. Yeah, in Soho Street. There's this one devotee from Saudi Arabia, Abdullah, distributing so many copies of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is astounding. And myself and my dear friend, Krishna used us to get Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita in Arabic. It's a long story, we don't have time to tell. But anyway, Krishna used us as instruments to. He had somebody who wanted it in Arabic. I knew some person who was very interested in printing Srila Prabhupada's books and distributing, especially Bhagavad Gita. So somehow Krishna used us, and this Bhagavad Gita came out in Arabic. And we were in Bahrain for Janmashtami last year. Some people from Bharat were there, and they said that people are getting this Bhagavad Gita in Arabic outside of Saudi Arabia, coming there, shaving up and becoming devotees. Becoming shaved up devotees. Hare Krishna. So anyway, I assume that Artik's probably 12:30, right? So we'll have a few more minutes if anybody has any questions. Oh yeah. And we have with us our latest book, Braj Leela Part 3, Giriraj, the King of Mountains. And we spent several years researching for this, because everybody goes to Govardhan and they do the Olympics, just running around, and maybe they see Radhakund and Shamakund and Kusum Sarovar and Govindakund. But there's so many places on Govardhan and so many leelas, you can't imagine all the leelas that were there. And even some places we can't find anymore. Narayan Bhatta Goswami gives pranam mantras and ashram mantras for places, and we tried to find and nobody knows where they are. But now we have a record of all of those places. And since everybody, because my other books have maybe 12 pictures in them, so everybody loves Prabhuji's photos, so we have 284 photos in this book. Color photos. Okay. And 32 paintings. We had to get special permission from BBT. 32 paintings we got there, and he went with his drone and got so many things we did. For a long time we did research. Now there's a visual evidence of all the wonderful places, all the wonderful pastimes. Just I think Radhakund is taking up 1/3 of the book. There's so many things in Radhakund you can't even begin to imagine. So, and we're only asking a small donation of $25 for this book, 530 pages of nectar. And you don't need cash. We can, your credit card or online or anything, we can accept. And I'm here today to sign it if anybody wants to take a copy with them. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So anyone have any questions they'd like to ask?
I'll be setting up a table back there if somebody wants to book this.
My question just was, if that's part 3, are the other parts also available?
They're out of print right now, but they're on Amazon.
Yeah, you can get the
And even part 3 is on Amazon, although it's like $65 or something, because they just print one copy color on glossy paper, so it's expensive for them to.
Part 1 and 2 is like $10, $12 something.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. So Nectarian, could you tell us one of your favorite stories of Srila Prabhupada that is connected to brunch?
Okay. What story? No, we connected with Braj.
Yeah. They cook something. I don't know. Many food.
That was Calcutta.
No, she cooked something in Braj. Went to something.
Okay. One time, before Krishna Balaram Mandir was there, Prabhupada was staying in Radha Damodar temple. And you've probably seen the lecture series, your Nectar Devotion lectures in the courtyard of Radha Damodar. So a lot of devotees came. I mean, a lot means, maybe 30, 40. Now thousands have come for Kartik. But anyway, that was probably one of the first Kartik festivals, the 30, 40. But anyway, they were making a lot of noise, and we know Prabhupada's rooms were downstairs, right off from the courtyard of Radha Damodar temple. And Jamuna and Gurudas were living upstairs. So they decided that Prabhupada should move upstairs and they'll move downstairs. So they brought Prabhupada up, and then Jamuna was bringing everything up. And she was bringing some things up, and she was thinking, what is Prabhupada going to do about Jarati? There was one old lady monkey that used to disturb them all the time, sneak in and steal things and rip put your cloth out to dry, and they just rip it and part and what? And they named her Jarati. It means old lady, so it was an old lady monkey. So what's Prabhupada going to do about Jarati? And she came upstairs and she saw the door was open just a crack, and there was some noise coming. So through the crack she could see that Jarati was in the window. And Jarati went, and Prabhupada went, and Jarati went, and Prabhupada went, and then Jarati went away. And then Jamuna came in and said, Prabhupada, what was that? He said, I told her to go away and not to bother. And they never saw that monkey again. Other story is that before Krishna Balaram temple, Prabhupada was staying there, and Jamuna, the Prabhupada was coming to Vrindavan. So Jamuna asked the Brishbasis, what's the best way to make rotis? He said, you get this, I forget the name, it's a Punjabi red wheat berry, I forgot the name. And you grind it in the morning, and you cook it with neem wood, and that's the best. So Prabhupada came, so she got some of that Punjabi red wheat berry, she ground it in the morning, and she cooked it with neem wood. And she didn't say a thing to Prabhupada. Prabhupada came, time for lunch, so she brought the plate in, she brought a hot chapati, hot roti in, and Prabhupada broke off a piece and took a bite. He said, this is the Punjabi red wheat berry. You ground it this morning, and you cooked it with neem wood. Just by the taste, Prabhupada could understand everything. The only other story about Prabhupada and Braj was in the old days, before Krishna Balaram Mandir, we were all staying in Fogal Ashram. It was in 1974. So one day we went up to Krishna Balaram Mandir because everybody was invited. There wasn't many devotees those days, so some of us were invited for darshan, and because Prabhupada's rooms were ready, he was staying there. So then on the way back to Fogal Ashram, I saw this Brijbasi couple walking down the street, and they were walking real funny like this and bumping into each other. I said, what is this? So then I went up behind them, and they were chanting, Radhe, Radhe, Jai, Jai, Sri Radhe. They were intoxicated with Radharani's name. So I realized the non-difference between Vrindavan and New York. Because in New York, you also see people walking down the street. But they're not chanting Radharani's name. Maybe Johnny Walker's name. And in Vrindavan, you always hear these strange sounds. And in New York, you hear also these strange sounds. And in Vrindavan, sometimes there's people walking on the street just talking to themselves and, chanting and, in New York also you see people walking on the street talking to themselves. What else? What else did I? Oh, in Vrindavan you'll see people. Well, you see, first of all, you see all these sadhus with all these dreadlocks, And here you also walk around in New York. You see people with so many dreadlocks. And Vrindavan, there's so many monkeys. The other day we were in, where was that? Union Square. Some guy came by he had an artificial tail, and he was looking just like a monkey. He looked at us and he shouted at us. And in Vrindavan, you see people with, bells and different buttons and so many things walking down the street. And here in New York, I remember when I lived here, I see people, they have feathers and, all kinds of big buttons like that. So this is my realization of the non-difference between New York and Vrindavan.
His Grace Deena Bandhu ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki.
Thank you so much for that wonderful class, Deena Bandhu Prabhuji. I think we can all agree that felt like a cooling breeze coming in, so thank you very much. Please give a big Haribol for our guest. Haribol! So now we will have Arti and some more kirtan. Chinese Thai Prabhu, would you like us to keep the chairs out because of the we'll put them away?
Stack them, but not all the way.
Okay, perfect. So we will together put the chairs, we'll fold them up and we can put them in the back of the temple hall. We don't need to take them outside because we will be using them again in just a few hours for the rest of the festival. So thank you so much. Please enjoy kirtan and I'll be back with some more announcements before Prashadam.
Thank you so much, Mark.
And if anybody wants a book, they can see us in the back room. Sign it for you.
I'll be sure to announce again.
Oh, child.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Shri cows, the goal, is the goala, 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 goala. Jai Jai Gopi, Jai Jai Ram, Jai Jai Radhe This is future conditional. If you will sing Govinda Govinda, prema padartha, that thing called prem, hauge, you will taste that thing called prem. Govinda Govinda, hauge, prema padartha, hauge. Lokan Samsabhakacharya Savange Sri Prabhupada Ki, Ananda Guri Vaishnava Ki, Sad Goswami Prabhu Ki, Amacharya Sri Haridas Thakur Ki, Prem Shri Go Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopi Go, Shama Kund Radha Kund, Giri Govardhana Ki, Rajabhumi Vrindavan Dham Ki, Sri Navadi Maya Pradham Ki, Sri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki, Ganga Mai Jamuna Mai Ki, Srimati Vrindadevi Tulsi Maharani Ki, Srimati Bhakti Devi Ki, Sri Harinam Sankirtan Ki, Bhakti Center Ki, Sri Gaurachandra Ki, Sri Sri Radha Murlidhar Ki, Bhakti Raj Maharaj Ki, Hare Go Preman, all glories to the Assembly, all glories to the Assembly, all glories to the Assembly, all glories, all glories, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga, glories to you, Sri Prabhupada. That's true.
You brought Vrindavan to us. You're always in Vrindavan. This is for my senior god brother in every way.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
much for singing and such wonderful ecstatic kirtan for our lordships. Bear with me, okay? We've got a lot of announcements because we have a lot of really exciting things happening in the next week. So buckle up, let's talk about it. So today is just the start of this incredible Panihati Festival. So starting at 3 p.m., we will have a Harinam to Tompkins Square Park and back. Tompkins Square Park, of course, is the location of the famed Hare Krishna tree, one of the first kirtans to be held publicly in the West, so very special, auspicious place, and we'd love to have you join us. We will then come back, we will have some kirtan, we will have a pot auction, there will be a drama, and then we are blessed to have a lecture by His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj. So please be there. That will start at 5:15 and we'll go through 7. And then we will of course have prasad served as well. So that is today. So we are excited to see you for the rest of the day at Bhakti Center. Yes, Jenny Prabhu.
Can I just clarify?
Please.
The pot we will be auctioning off will be the pot something else.
Okay, great.
The pot in general.
Sure. Yes, wonderful. Thank you for clarifying. I was like, a pot auction. So, look at these wonderful pots. Aren't you excited for the auction to have them that have been at the feet of Sri Sri Radhamurli Gaur Chandra? Very exciting. Not to be downplayed. Thank you so much, Jenny Prabhu. Then, coming on Tuesday, we have a wisdom talk with His Holiness Radhanath Swami again. We are so blessed. That will be here starting at 5 p.m. through 7 p.m. Wednesday, the party continues. So we always have Prabhupada meditations at 26 2nd Avenue. Deena Bandhu Prabhu was a wonderful speaker this past week. This is a very special week because we're honoring the upcoming 60th anniversary of Srila Prabhupada's arrival in New York City. And we are going to welcome his Murti to 26 2nd Avenue. So this is going to be a very historical, very special day. A lot of hard work by a lot of wonderful devotees have gone into the restoration of 26 2nd Avenue, and we would love to have you all there to celebrate this auspicious moment. Keeps going. Friday, we've got, so Friday is the day before Rath Yatra, which is on Saturday. So Friday, we will have a beautiful kirtan in Tompkins Square Park, again with his special guest, His Holiness Radhanath Swami. So this will be from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Again, you will see and get to celebrate and imbibe all of the auspiciousness underneath the Hare Krishna tree. So please come celebrate in advance of Rath Yatra. If you are inspired to volunteer, we do need volunteers for that day on Friday in Tompkins Square Park. So you can feel free to sign up for that on our website or in temple newsletters, etc. And if you don't know how to find those things, you can ask me afterwards. But we'd love to have you join in Seva on that day. Finally, I did want to also just make another plug for His Grace Deena Bandhu Prabhu's book. He will have a book table in the back. This is the third part of this series, 530-page full-color book with 284 color photos. Howdy bo! So please consider taking one of these wonderful books home with you so you continue to drink in the nectar of Braj. I think that is it for today. Anything else that you can think of, Jenny Prabhu? No?
Thursday night kirtan, Deena Bandhu will also be here.
Oh, wonderful. Please join us Thursday night kirtan. That's pretty much something every day of the week this week. Very exciting. Yes, Prabhu, did you have another?
Well, I just wanted to mention that. I'm sorry.
No.
Hare Krishna. You keep referring to it as the Hare Krishna tree, but there's another meaning.
Please tell us.
That is the location, for the first time in the history of the Western world, where the holy names descended in public. That location, the holy names were called to come down by Srila Prabhupada. It is such a tirtha because that's where the holy names appeared. Hare Krishna.
Thursday is also 6-hour kirtan. On Thursday. What time?
6 hours.
6 hours. Pick any 6 hours. We'll be here. So So this is your message to plan ahead for the week, because there's a lot of really exciting things going on, and we're so excited to celebrate with you all. Hare Krishna, thank you so much. Please enjoy Prasadam in the back. And this is a community-run program, as are all of our programs, so we invite you, if you feel so called. We will have a donation basket in the front, and also many ways to donate online, and to sponsor festival days as well. Thank you so much. Anything you're inspired to give really helps. Hare Krishna.